Okay, so I'm in a pool, and my lesson this week is on phonics, but it's the title of it is Read Regularly Spelled Words with as many as 4 syllables. So my whole lesson plan has to do with syllables, and I'm a little bit more prepared today. Got my stuff actually done. So it's a second grade class. I decided to do a second grade and teach it about phonics. It's going to be a 15-minute lesson. There are a total of 16 regular education students, 4 504 students, and 2 special education students. So the purpose of this lesson is to prepare students to be able to identify syllables and words and to be able to sound them out. So they have to know about syllables to be able to read words, be able to read them correctly, and most of the time, if they are proficient spellers, then they're going to be proficient readers. So they need to be able to know how to spell these words, sound them out, and then they can be excellent readers. And that's our goal. And our standard comes from ELA 1E1. And let me see. Yesterday, we learned how to find syllables in words. And today, we will learn to read regular words with as many as 4 syllables. And then tomorrow, we will recognize and read grade appropriate irregularly spelled words. So that's our lesson for today. So the first thing I'm going to do to get my students motivated is I'm going to be playing a stand-up, sit-down game. And the purpose of the game is I'm going to explain to the students that they have to stand up or sit down when I say how many syllables they have in their own name. So if I say, if you have 4 syllables in your name, stand up. And they're going to stand up, and I'm going to observe the room, and this is going to be a whole class activity. I'm going to observe the room and see which students are correct and which ones are not. And that way I know who's understanding it, who's not. And this gets us motivated to know, they know that they're about to learn about syllables. They're about to know, how many syllables their name actually has. Like, we're going to go through all that. And so this helps all that. And then I'm going to evaluate and make sure each student is standing up or sitting down when they are supposed to. So I'm going to be observing and making sure, for example, if Emily stands up, and Emily is 1 syllable, and she stands up when I says 2 syllables, then I know she didn't. She's not quite understanding what's going on, so then we're going to go into the review section. That way I can catch all the students up, and then we can begin our lesson. So the review is, I'm going to review syllables by going over words and clapping out the syllable. So, for example, I would write cat. C-A-T. So then the class would go cat. That's 1 syllable. That's how many they clapped. So then I would do flower. Write that on the board. Flower. That's 2 syllables. So then we'll go over that. So that's what we'll do for the review. We're going to do a bunch of different words. I'm going to do a bunch of words that they know, like homework, pencil, notebook, class, like school, like stuff that they're getting familiar with and that they're comfortable using. And even like household stuff, like games, phones, like stuff that kids use that they can be comfortable, talking about. So during the review, I'm going to write a word on the board and I'll ask, what are you going to do? Where are you going to divide this word? Because in doing syllables, we've been doing, like, I'll write flower again. So, flower, I know you can't really see, it's kind of far away. Flower is 2 syllables. So, where do we separate flower at? So, flower. So we're going to separate like this, because this makes a sound, this makes a sound, so it's 2 syllables. So now I want them to be able to divide them, be able to know which ones, how many syllables each word has, and how to divide it correctly. Then I will say, can you sound out the first syllable? So for flower, for example, I shouldn't have erased it. Flower, for example, flower, split into 2, flower. The first part is fly. Just like that, fly. So then I would like the kids to say that. And then I will say, now can you sound out the second part of the syllable? Or can you not, Then they would say, were, flower. And they would put it together. They would separate it and then put it back together. So it's a lot of breaking apart, putting back together, doing syllables. So it's a good way for the students to actually understand what's actually happening. And for that, I'd be doing like oral responses. I'd want them to tell me, be able to communicate back and forth with me. So it'll be immediate feedback that I'm receiving from them, getting their oral responses for teaching the lesson. So my activity is actually a really cute activity. So let me see here. So I'll begin doing the syllable scoops activity by giving each student a pencil and a student sheet. Now the student sheet looks like this. It's got the ice cream cones with the ice cream scoops on the top. And you'll see what I'm about to use it for in just a second. They have to have a student sheet and a pencil to do this activity. And then I'll get the students, the learners will get into groups of 4 and wait for the teacher to bring ice cream cone, header cards, and the word cards. These are the word cards. I colored them and laminated them, and I have a bunch of different ones, bunch of different categories because they go with these cones up here. And the cones are 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how many syllables they have. So we're gonna get the ice cream tops, and they're gonna get into groups, and they're gonna place the ice cream cone header flat on the surface and place the word cards face down to the stack. So they would actually be having a stack, and they would be face down like this. So they'd be face down, and they wouldn't know what it was. So they would be mixed up. Like I have mine in stacks, like I know which ones go where, but they're not gonna know. They're gonna have them mixed up in stacks, and they're gonna be face down. But they're gonna have these on their desk face up, working in groups of 4. So the learners will take turns selecting the top card. So like one learner would pick this card. It's Atlantic. And they would say the word. Okay. The learner will then say the word again, segmenting it by syllables and counting the number of syllables. So they will pick up the word, they will say the word, they will segment the word, and they will say it again, and then they'll put it on top of their cone. Okay, so they will begin by putting the cones, the ice creams, on top of the cones. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to pick some cards out. And they have, this word is establishing. So they're going to clap it out. Establishing. That's 4 syllables. So they're going to put their ice cream on top of their cone. So we have that one. Then we'll go to this other one. We've got muffin. Muffin. That's 2 syllables. So we're going to put it on top of our cone. Okay. Invented. Invented. So they're going to put that on top of the cone in the 3 spot. And then blend. 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 1 syllable. So we're going to put it on top of this other cone. So this is a fun little way, and we can keep going. We have like insect. Insect. So we'd put that on top of muffin. And our ice cream cone would get taller and taller until we ran out of cards. So that's what they would be doing in groups of 4. They wouldn't necessarily have this with the Velcro stickies on it, because this was just my example. This is what I would show them after we did a review. I would put this on the board, and I would have my own set, and I would go through every word in the stack of cards that they did, and we would go through this, and we would do it together and clap it out to make sure that each group knew what they were doing. That way they could check themselves, and they can know if they got it wrong or not. So after we do that activity, I'm going to allow my students to get into partners. And let me get the paper. And do this worksheet. It's called Syllable Zoo. And on the paper, it's got the words, and they're supposed to write the slashes to separate the syllables, and then write how many syllables in the line beside it of how many syllables are in that word. This is a good way, and I'm going to let them work in partners on it because some people who are struggling may need extra help, so I'm going to let them do that in partners. But after they do it, after they fill out the paper, we're also going to review the paper. And I'm going to say in the paper, what other animal name wasn't on the paper? So then I would want the students to give me feedback and say, like, let me see. Monkey. Monkey wasn't on the paper. So then we would get monkey, somebody would say monkey, and I would put it on the board. We would do slash it out, count out, clap it out, how many syllables we had. And after we did the syllables, we would write it out, and we would go through the paper, and I would want them to come up with other animals' names that could be small or large, any animal that they could think of, and us review it that way. Then I would ask which animal names had the most syllables, so they could look on their paper, or they could look at the ones that we came up with, that they've told me that I've kept on the board. So then they would just state which one had the most syllables. I would like to know if they know, which one has the most syllables in it. So, for homework, after the lesson and the day is over, for homework, I will give them this syllables clap sheet. And it's for them to bring home. And when they read each word, they're supposed to clap the syllables out and write how many syllables is in those words. So bring that back to me for a grade. And for some HOTS questions that I would ask is, how would you show your understanding of breaking apart words with their syllables? And that is a level 3 applying question, HOT question from Bloom's taxonomy. And because I want to know how they would explain to me that they know what we're actually doing. We're not just splitting words just wherever we want to. We're not just clapping words out just because. I want them to be able to tell me how they can figure out how many syllables are in each word. So then I would ask them, can you state a new word that has 3 syllables? This is a level 2 Bloom's taxonomy understanding question. And because I want them to think of words that they relate to, that they can say, like in some of these cards we have atmospheric. Some of these second graders are not even going to realize like what this word is. They're not going to know. They're not going to know. And so I want them to be able to tell me new words that are like household related or family related or anything that they can wrap their mind and connect to. So then I would ask them, can you explain how to find syllables in words? This is another level 2 understanding Bloom taxonomy question because I want them to be able to let me know that they know what they're doing. And this is just another way for me to get to know that they understand. I can see them, they're talking to me, they're giving me immediate feedback, I'm observing them, they know what we just did, they understood my lesson I just taught, and that way I know if they didn't understand the lesson we just taught, tomorrow, but before we pick up on the new segment, then maybe we can go over this again, or the worksheet again, or the homework paper again, for students who aren't getting it. So, students who need accommodations will be getting access to study sheets, visual demonstrations, and presentations of materials in small steps, and functional level materials. Early finishers can get on the Chromebooks and play the syllable game. There's a bunch of syllable games on learninggamesforkids.com. It's a really good website. They had a bunch where you just typed in syllable in the search bar, and they had all these different syllable games, just like the stuff we were doing in class today. So I thought that was a very good extra thing that they can work on. And students needing remediation will be allowed to practice more with the ice cream activity or do an extra worksheet with a partner. So I will also have extra syllable papers in class that are similar to these. The clapping out, the splitting apart, the breaking apart, the writing down how many syllables are in each thing. So that way they can do that if they want to. And students who want extra practice can get on the learninggamesforkids.com or do the extra worksheets like all the other stuff. So to know that my students understood this lesson, I'm going to be observing them. I'm going to get immediate feedback from them. I'm going to have peer evaluations with them when they get partners and when they get in groups. They're going to have the worksheet. And later on, we would actually have a quiz on, it'd probably be just like one of these worksheets, how to find syllables, break it apart, and writing to the side how many are actually in the activity. So this lesson was mainly about syllables. I thought it was the ice cream thing was a very cute activity. It worked well because they actually are seeing and knowing and can clap it out. And so that was my lesson. Thank you.